This is a HeadGum podcast.
This is why. Pop culture, politics, friendship, dating, work, parenting news. This is why. The podcast.
Welcome to the This Is Why podcast. I'm author and editor Angela Spera. I normally host this podcast with Laura Lane, my co-author of the book, This Is Why You're Single. And as you guys know, you know the deal. Every week we give best friend advice on topics including pop culture, news, friendship, dating, workplace dynamics, parenting, and whatever else is on your mind. That was a little garbled. Whatever else is on your mind. There we go. But this week, just like the last 3 weeks, Laura is on a well-deserved maternity leave. So filling in for her one last time, this is supposed to be the last time the two of us together, is my fiance Ian. Hi, Ian.
Hi. When you say it's like this is the last time, it's like after this episode, you're going to murder me.
I'm never speaking to you again.
Yeah.
You've served your purpose. You filled in for Laura,
Yeah, I need to like pack my bags.
and now you need to go. It's time for you to go.
All right,
But
do I get a parting gift? Is there a parting favor? Do I get like like one of those popper things, or maybe like a shirt or something?
maybe. Right now, your gift is just the honor of getting to tell us what this week's episode is
Oh
called.
my God. So this week's episode is called How to Know You Found the One, and that's not referring to Neo in the Matrix. We'll be answering your listener questions, including a listener who has never met her long-distance boyfriend in real life, and another, or IRL, and another listener who wants to know how not to go crazy while waiting on a proposal. Then we're talking about what's in the news. Gen Z thinks millennials are chuggy. That's a new word that I am very excited to talk about that I just learned about.
Mhm.
And a Tennessee hat shop who sells insanely offensive, not vaccinated Star of David badges. Yeah, that's horrible. But first, Angela, what's been on your mind this week?
Yeah, we're covering a range of topics this week. But for me, what's going on in my week, now this episode is coming out 6/16, so it will air after you and I have been wed, but we're recording it prior to that. So we are not married yet, but we are a week out from our wedding. And I have been compulsively checking the weather because, you and I tried to do the right thing, as we've discussed many times on the podcast. And we're putting off our big indoor wedding till next year. And we're doing a small outdoor thing this year with like small group of people, everybody vaccinated. But, you know, how many plans are we going to make? We already have 2 weddings. So, like, we don't really have a rain option
No,
for
I
this
mean,
first wedding.
for this one, we really should have taken this one ourselves and gotten waterproof clothing, I think,
like,
just to be safe.
I mean, I don't even own a raincoat, to be honest with
Should
you.
have gotten like Gore-Tex wedding dress or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I've mentioned on the podcast before, I've been like, this is one good thing is I'm going to get my money's worth on my dress. I'm going to wear it twice. And now I'm like, oh boy, because it was a very rainy Memorial Day weekend here in New York, and they are calling for rain again on our wedding day.
Woohoo!
And I cannot wait to trudge through the mud. We were doing photos in the park. It is not going to be pretty in the rain. I'm wearing white. It will be muddy.
Well, but we did purchase very classy see-through umbrellas
We
for
did.
everybody who will be in the photo. So at least we might get like a cool photo op. That would be silver lining.
This is just like
Consolation
this is just
prize.
like when people have told us about the big wedding being canceled. Like, oh, it's a great story for your grandkids. No, they won't be cool photos. It's not a great story for the grandkids. I just want something to go right. God damn it. But here we are, yet another lesson in sometimes the thing that you plan.
Just gotta go with the flow. Namaste.
There's like so many metaphors and life lessons. And I'm sure if I was a more poetic person, I could like incorporate it into my vows and be like, once again, like life isn't what you plan, but isn't that what marriage is like?
Was that just a rephrasing of the John Lennon quote, "Life is what happens when you're busy making other plans"?
I mean, if I was like 10% more basic, maybe I would just quote John Lennon in my
Hey, there is
vows.
nothing basic about John Lennon.
Oh, there's a little bit basic about John Lennon. But yeah, so I'm trying to like go with the flow and be chill about it, but like how chill, like how many things are gonna go wrong, but whatever. It'll be fine. I'm sure it'll be great.
It's gonna be great. and if something, whatever goes wrong at this point, we just have to be thankful that it doesn't kill or harm us or those around us.
Yes, exactly. And we're lucky to be with our family and our loved ones, even if we will all be soaking wet and freezing and ruining my very expensive wedding dress. But it's great. I'm looking forward to it. It's great. As many people like to remind us, at least you have each other. At least it's all about your love. Right,
Yeah,
Ian?
right. What else would it be about?
Listen, it is about that. But like, can one thing go right other than our pure and majestic love for one another?
Ooh, good use of the word majestic.
Thank you. So anyway, that's what's going on in my week as I'm just checking weather.com compulsively. What's going on in your
Well,
week?
speaking of the weather, right now it is pouring outside, and actually, so we didn't realize, but this podcast is also going to be a peaceful rain sound
Yeah.
podcast. So you can also put this on when going to bed.
If you're somehow able to black out our voices, yeah, this is
Yeah,
a great
I w-
bedtime.
I will be reading Goodnight Moon at the end.
Oh, perfect.
So my week, no, my week is great. Just thinking a lot about how, so we're on very synced up schedules in a very inconvenient way. In that, I would say that we have therapy at the same time, not together.
No, but separately, yeah, we see our therapists at the same
Separately,
time.
we see them at the same time, and that is, so it's convenient in the sense that it's like, we're on a similar schedule, but it's inconvenient in the sense that I actually go out to my car and take it. But very lucky that I have a car here in the city. But it's kind of like I treat it like my therapy office. But what I've
Right, because if it
realized,
isn't obvious, we're both doing our therapy remotely,
right, right.
which is great. I actually think it's super convenient. I do feel guilty that you have to go out into your
Well, no,
car.
you shouldn't feel guilty. I mean, it's a choice that I make. However, what I've realized though is that this might become challenging over the summer as it gets very hot in the car.
Mm.
And last week when I did it, my phone overheated and shut off mid session.
You were in the car when that happened?
Yeah, because the car, I guess, like, the sun was, like, beaming down.
Oh,
I basically have
no.
I have one of those things, to prop up, the
Oh.
phone when you need directions, so, like, I think the sun was shining right on it and the phone overheated. But anyway, it was pretty funny, and I realized that, I also, like, got very sweaty, so I'm not working out a lot these days, but I feel like now if I can sweat and do the mental gymnastics of improving my mental health at the same time, it's like a true full body workout.
Yes, you're doing, like, sauna time.
Sauna sauna time, I'm schwitzing, and I'm schwitzing both physically, and I'm schwitzing my bullshit.
If you could also, like, maybe cry during your sessions, that could be a good cleanse as
Right, that's a good
well,
idea.
lose some water weight
Yeah, no, that's a great
in your
idea.
face.
Haven't
Yeah,
had that happen yet, but
I feel bad. You're like, you ever see the meme of the dog that's locked in the car, but the owner posted a sign on the window that says he's listening to his favorite music and the air conditioner on and he's fine?
yeah,
That's you.
that's me, yeah.
Except I don't know, yeah, you need to be like that dog and turn the air conditioner on.
Well, I sometimes I do. I mean, or I should say, in that one instance, I did for maybe like 5 minutes or so. I will say though, one of the fun things about it is when you're in your car, there's a lot of things happening outside your window, and sometimes they're just like people screaming. And but there was one time where this guy, I was parked right outside of an apartment building, and this guy came to take his trash out, and he was like right next to me, like doing the trash and clanging trash cans or whatever. And then he sees me, and he got totally startled and like almost fell back. He was like, and then he apologized, but yeah.
I'm sure
Anyway,
your therapist enjoys getting all of this.
I think it is. I'm at least hope because I get self conscious. Obviously, I don't think my problems are all that interesting. So it's good that I think I can provide him a little bit of like entertainment. Like here are the things happening on the streets of Brooklyn.
Yeah, I totally identify with the desire to entertain your
Yeah.
therapist, which is like a total sickness. Like, what is wrong with both of us that we're
Well,
like,
we actually we actually talked about it last week. I asked him how I was doing, and he says that I think he thinks I seek approval a little too much. So I definitely, and I realized, man, like I don't need to impress this guy. I don't need him to think I'm funny and entertaining.
it's all wow, it's all very meta.
Yeah.
Well,
Anywho,
I'm
yep,
I'm
that's
gl-
my week.
yeah. That's good. Oh, do you hear that plane overhead, everyone?
Sorry, everybody. There's
Sorry about that.
rain, there's planes, there's trains and
Trains.
automobiles.
Yeah. Ho, ho, ho. Um, but anyway, let's jump into our mailbox. But first, let's take a quick sponsor break. We would like to thank our sponsor, Squarespace. Squarespace empowers millions of dreamers, makers, and doers by providing them with the tools they need to bring their creative ideas to life. An all in one platform where customers can build a website. Laura and I talk a lot about how much we love Squarespace. We're big fans. Our show's website is sponsored by Squarespace. We both have personal websites that we created with Squarespace and cannot emphasize enough how much neither of us know about or knew about building a website and how easy Squarespace made it. And it is amazing how often you need a website in life. You think, I don't need a website, I'm just a regular person. But no, I mean, like, whether you're getting married and you need a wedding website, or like for me, I needed a place to put my portfolio when applying to jobs, like as a writer or an editor. Places want like your portfolio, and it's just like a nice clean way to keep things together. If you do any kind of creative thing, if you're a hair cutter, if you're an artist, a blogger, a photographer, whatever, it's just a nice place to keep all your stuff. So, if you want to build yourself a Squarespace website, can't recommend it enough. They have everything you need to create beautiful and modern websites. You start with a design template and you use drag and drop tools to make it your own. With Squarespace, you have the ability to customize the look and feel, settings, and products with just a few clicks. And of course, there's 24/7 award winning customer support to help you out if you ever get confused, which you might, because I sure did. But they helped me out and it was easy. So, squarespace.com/this is why. That's where you're going to go. Squarespace.com/this is why for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use offer code This Is Why to save 10% off all your first purchase of a website or domain. All right, let's see what we have in the mailbox. So we have two anonymous listeners this week. Our first one contacted us by email, the old-fashioned way, and one contacted us by Instagram. Both totally acceptable. We check all mailboxes, so reach out however you feel comfortable. So first up, anonymous. She says, I am a woman in my late 20s and met my first boyfriend online last spring. He lives in the UK while I live in Canada, and we haven't met yet. We didn't mean to get into a long distance relationship, but we fell in love. As expected, the fact that we haven't been able to meet given the pandemic has put a lot of strain on our relationship. We haven't been through a lot of ups and downs, but I'm sorry, we have been through a lot of ups and downs, but we've been good at communicating and working through things together. He got his first vaccination dose while I'm getting mine in a few days, so things are looking up, but we both feel anxious about the relationship. When will travel restrictions be lifted so we can meet? How will we feel about each other in person? Until when do we stick it out? We've also both struggled with our own issues, my mental health and his work issues and sick parents, and recently he asked me for a 1 week break to deal with his issues and figure out if he can keep being in the relationship. He said he doesn't want to break up with me, but may, quote, need to. Assuming he doesn't break things off, how do I figure out what to do on my end? My gut tells me to stick it out and see how things are in person, but should I put a deadline on this? Thank you for your advice. Hmm. I mean, my first instinct in reading this email, to be honest with you, is that if he is so overwhelmed from another country in a long distance relationship that he has to take a break, uh, I don't know how he'll be able to do an in-person relationship because I, I mean, like, I'm sure what you're asking from him. I mean, like, it's being long distance requires a lot of communication. It's true. But I I don't like the fact that he can't handle that and needed a break is concerning to me.
Yeah, I would
Because
say
I'm
so.
sure you're an understanding person. You know his parents are sick. I'm sure you're not asking for more than he can handle.
Yeah. I mean, I would say the nature of the situation just seemed incredibly stressful, and I mean, given the pandemic, you haven't even had a chance to meet. and there's a lot of. I mean, I think it's hard sometimes to set expectations when one, you haven't met in person, and two, you're so far away. So I think it's just like a hard thing to truly like, I don't know, set realistic expectations on. I guess in my
Right.
opinion.
I mean, that's the thing is no matter what, when you meet in person, your relationship will change.
Sure.
Like it's going to be, it could be fine. It could be a good change, but like the dynamic will be different because it just like it will be. It's a
Yeah.
different thing. It's a different type of relationship. So and you won't know until you meet him.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of. I think. Yeah. There's obviously a lot of unknowns. Until then, I would say with the to answer your question about like should you put an expiration date on this or a deadline or something like that. Like I do think it might be a good idea to just like or at the very least like consider like taking a break until you can actively meet each other. Maybe if things are too much for him or not going well or too stressful. I'd say if things are going great and you feel good and and all parties are like happy and enjoying themselves, then by all means can continue what you're doing. But I think
Right.
if there's a lot of stress or anxiety around it, it could be good to just like you know put it on a break until you can actually meet each other.
Yeah, and I mean that's something that whether people have met in person before starting their long distance relationship or not. Like my thing with long distance relationships is always like it can't just be in limbo forever. Like if when you first start dating, you're figuring it out, so you're not going to have answers. But eventually, you do need to have like an end date of where eventually we are going to be living in the same place and seeing if this relationship is worth continuing to pursue and
Right.
investing both of our time and emotions in because you're not going to know that until you're living in the same place
Right.
and
You
seeing
need
each
some
other
kind
in
of tentative
person.
plan.
Yeah,
Even if it's just like nebulous and just like, within, you have like a certain time frame, it doesn't have to be concrete, but it just
right.
has to be has to be out there in the open being discussed, I think.
Yeah, some kind of plan, even if the plan evolves or changes. But
Right.
yeah, I think it's good for both of you, like psychologically, to have a
Yeah.
plan and something to look forward to, and yeah, like a milestone moment for your relationship.
Right. Which I know is hard right now given pandemic stuff,
Definitely
but yeah, when it's safe, obviously.
when it's
Yeah.
safe. Okay, next up, we have another anonymous listener, and they write. So I think y'all may have covered this early on, especially when Angela was waiting for her fiance to pop the question. Fiance is here now.
Hi.
Uh, but how do you not become a total crazy person when you know that it is on the radar? My boyfriend and I have gone to look at rings, so I hope it's coming soonish. But it doesn't help that he keeps asking my ring questions, so I'm kind of involved, but he's also trying to maintain some level of surprise. I don't want to ruin things, but it's all I can think about, and it's driving me crazy.
Can you say that last part again?
Driving me crazy.
I think you're better equipped to answer this question than me.
Well, she's actually in a much uh more secure position than I was because she has way more indication that a proposal is pending. Like they've gone to look at rings. He's asking her questions about the ring. Like her craziness doesn't come from like, is it going to happen at all? It's just like, when will it happen? And I think that's a much more fun crazy to feel. Uh, so mine was more, I mean, you and I had like discussed rings and stuff, but then there was a very long period between when we discussed and when we got proposed or when we got engaged. So like I started to dip into the is it happening at all crazy lady mindset, which is not a fun crazy
Oh no.
mindset.
I'm sorry. I'm
But
sorry.
Ian likes to take his time. And I guess maybe we'll get into that. I mean, the theme of this episode is how to know you've found the one. And one of the things that I will be discussing is that just because you feel like you found your person doesn't mean that there won't be bumps. Like, don't, don't expect perfection because sometimes you might be waiting a long time for a proposal.
Well, I don't think that perfection and proposals are necessarily mutually exclusive.
No, I mean more in the in terms of like what you if the what you envisioned,
Yes,
because of
yes, yes.
course in our heads we
Yeah.
always have like the perfect version of things.
Right,
Even
right.
if we like convince ourselves like this is perfect but realistic, it's usually probably just like informed by some rom-com type
Well, right.
situation.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah.
And yeah, I just want like just because something doesn't match that heightened expectation that you have, that doesn't mean that it's bad.
Right, right, and that's also like, to Angela's point, your partner has given you a bit more indication and direction than I did, so sorry about that. But also, but also good for you. I would say just I would say at this point, just it's good to be patient and just continue to. I mean, like it sounds like it's gonna happen, and it's on the horizon. So I would say just kind of like just kind of let go in a sense because to be honest, like you want to be in the moment when it does happen. You want to be able to enjoy the moment and you want to be surprised. So the only way to truly do that is to kind of like let go and let it go and then it'll happen and then it'll happen usually at a moment when like you're really not paying attention and it'll be that much more special.
Yeah, that's the other thing I was gonna say is like, I mean, everybody feels differently about surprises, but for me, I feel like I'm never surprised by things. I always figure things out ahead of time, and it's not fun. Like, I want to be surprised. It's
You do that to
exciting.
yourself.
I do that to myself because I dig and I ask questions and whatever. But like when Ian proposed, I was so genuinely surprised, and I'm so happy that I was. Um, I mean, I maybe wish, like, I would have worn a different outfit because then I would have had, like, a like, there were pictures happening, so if I would have had an idea that it was happening, I would have maybe worn a different outfit, but whatever. That is just a silly, funny little thing. Ultimately, I was thrilled to be surprised.
Yeah.
Um,
Unless you
so
don't like surprises. If you don't like surprises, the whole other thing. But it
right,
sounds like you do.
right. Well,
Right.
I mean, that is a conversation, I guess, worth having with your
Partner,
partner.
yeah,
If
yeah.
you hate surprises,
Yeah,
just
right.
be like, "I just tell me. We don't need to follow we don't need to do what is traditionally done just because other people do it."
Right. Just tap me on the shoulder.
Just roll over one morning.
Just roll over, yeah. Get me while I'm on the toilet.
Um, but yeah, if you like surprises, it's worth letting go and letting yourself be surprised because then you will always have that really fun memory.
I like that.
But you're not crazy for being crazy. We all do it. So,
Well,
anyway, if you want your listener questions answered, you can email us at contact@thisiswhythepodcast.com or DM us on Instagram at thisiswhythepod. Please be concise. You can also find our contact information on our website at thisiswhythepodcast.com. Next up, we're going to talk about what's in the news. But first, let's thank our sponsors.
woot, woot.
We would like to thank our sponsor, Care of. All of Care of's products are formulated with good for you, clean ingredients that are backed by science. Back when we were all stuck at home during the pandemic, it was way easier. At least the one good thing was it was way easier to, I felt, focus on my health because I had nothing else to do. I was working out. I was like drinking my smoothies every day. But now life has kind of gone back to normal and I'm busier and it's less easy to focus on my health. So I appreciate that Care of at least makes taking vitamins easier because they just send it right to you. They tell you what to take. And I like not having to think. And Care of does that for me. So Care of is super transparent about the research and sourcing behind each one of their products. Your recommendations come in daily, individually wrapped packets that are perfect for getting back into or starting a routine. They have an in depth online quiz that asks you questions about your diet, your lifestyle, and your health concerns to help address your specific wellness goals. Care of makes it easy to declutter your cabinet and replace a mess of bottles with a dispenser of convenient daily vitamin packs. I will say, yes, their dispenser is very pleasing to the eye. It always has like a pretty design and nice colors. It's way nicer than having a cluttered cabinet of many different bottles. So for 50% off your first Care of order, go to takecareof.com and enter code This Is Why. Again, that's 50% off your first Care of order. That's a big discount. Go to takecareof.com and enter code This Is Why 50. All right, We're talking about what's in the news.
What have you been reading this week,
What a
Angela?
oh, I'm so glad you asked, Ian. Uh, I was reading the New York Times, and
The whole New York Times,
the whole New York Times, the
cover to cover.
prestigious paper, the New York Times, who somehow found the time to report on a new catchphrase from Gen Z,
Why?
chuggy. The name of the article is "What is chuggy? You know it when you see it," and it's by Taylor Lawrence. So when I had found this article a while ago, and I put it to the side because I was like, we have to talk about this on the podcast. Do we all know what chuggy is? This is very important. Um, and at the time, I did not know what chuggy was, but as they say in the headline, I know exactly what it is when I see it. So like, I just never had a word for it. So basically, chuggy kind of means out of touch. It kind of means basic. It's a new term to describe a certain aesthetic that is gaining popularity on TikTok. There are lots of questions as to the origin of chuggy. Um, a lot of people have traced it back to this girl who's just like a copywriter in LA and posted a video on TikTok. And she was like, I have a new word for you that me and my friends use, and it's chuggy. And
And basically, and we think like this person just like made it up. Like it doesn't like the like etymology of the word isn't rooted in like anything like real.
literally, I mean, if the New York Times couldn't figure out the etymology, I think
Yeah.
somebody just pulled it out of their butt one day and
Right.
now everybody's saying it.
Sweet.
Yeah. So chuggy is not quite basic, but it can be used to describe someone who is a conformist or perhaps generic in their tastes. And it's not quite uncool. It's not embarrassing or even always negative. Chuggy can be used broadly to describe someone who is out of date or trying too hard. And while a lot of chuggy things are associated with millennial women, the term can be applied to anyone of any gender and any age. So yeah, like it is Gen Z's like favorite pastime to shit on millennials. I get it. Sometimes we are a little chuggy. Um,
I would actually say you shouldn't use. I shouldn't. You shouldn't say we because of the things that I'm looking at here. Like so, Angela has provided me with a grid of sorts
yeah,
of
a
Chugi's
chuggy
pictures.
vision
And
board.
so a Chugi vision board. So what we have here, I need to describe this is like the EOS,
The lip
the
balm.
lip balm, like a girl boss mug, sorority lettering,
Minions. They love minions.
minions.
And I saw somebody
Oh,
recently say
the office stuff. Sorry,
baby Yoda is also
Chugi.
a little chuggy.
Ugg boots. Oh, and a man in a Dunder Mifflin shirt. So quoting The Office,
Yeah,
stuff
I
like
feel like
that.
people who make The Office and Friends their personality super chuggy. So yeah, I mean, I definitely have some chuggy traits, but I would
Do
say
you?
the
What are you?
we
That's
all do because
chuggy.
none of us are perfect. We all have like dorky whatever things.
What do you
But
do that's chuggy?
I don't know. There's so many things that are chuggy. I follow an account on Instagram now that it's like chuggy stuff,
Why
and
haven't
they
you
said
told
that
me about this
they said
before?
lasagna was chuggy. Maybe they're joking. Maybe they're trying to fuck with millennials who are trying to be cool.
Right,
I don't
right,
know.
right.
I do
Listen, if
have
lasagna can't be, you can't have it. I mean, like, it's not like lasagna is like this trendy food thing
I
that all of us
know.
that doesn't
It's not even
apply.
Instagrammable. It's ugly. It's disgusting to take a photo of. But
Right.
anyway, I do have a side part. Maybe that's chuggy. But I want to preface what I'm about to say by saying like everybody should just do what they want and do what they like, and who cares what is trendy, what people think, especially what like 20-year-olds on TikTok think. However, this aesthetic that they have described, I am glad that there is a word for it because some of my millennials, my fellow millennials do this. A lot of people who are like still active on Facebook, a lot of people who like I went to high school with and like didn't really leave their hometown and maybe got like married super young. Like it's just like there's a certain aesthetic that they do fall into here that is described quite well by this grid of images.
I actually really do appreciate. So the thing is that like I also think that there's definitely like a hierarchy of like bad of like shittiness.
Yes.
to some of these things. So, like, I would say, like, Greek life might be a lot higher than, like, Minions, because I
I disagree
no, I
strongly.
mean higher on the chuggy list,
Higher, like better?
like, worse.
Oh, see, I think
Oh, I
Minions
like
are
an
worse.
inverted thing,
People
yeah.
who there's I don't know what it is. It is
You have
so
more of a
weird.
problem with Minions than Greek life?
It is such like a weird online
Really?
thing that only
Wow.
if you're like a super online person do you get it. But like the sort of person who's very into like memes, like poorly photoshopped memes that feature minions. It's like they typically it corresponds to having very bad politics. I don't know what the correlation is,
Interesting.
but you can tell a lot
Alright.
from the minion thing. And listen,
I feel like there's an
I like to
academic paper waiting to be written here.
if you are a fan of the film Despicable Me, do not be offended. I'm not saying there is anything wrong with Steve Carell. I'm just saying there is a thing happening on the internet
The Minions
where
are
it
very
has
cute.
been
They're
it's
very cute.
it's become its own thing.
Angela, this is where I tell you that I actually just got a Minion tattoo.
Oh God, no. No.
A
There are
Minion
people,
tramp
but there
stamp.
are people with minion tattoos. You know what though? I read that tassel earrings are chuggy.
Oh, you wear those.
I have tassel earrings, but now
What
when
about
I wear them,
headbands? Are headbands chuggy?
probably. I
Yeah.
I mean like probably.
Because you wear them sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, because they were trendy
For like a
a
minute.
few years ago, and I
Yeah.
guess people that don't keep up with the trends are chuggy. But also, I think that like if you are just being yourself and not trying to go for a certain look,
Yeah.
that is like anti-chug,
Yeah.
you
No, I
know?
agree.
So like you can kind of
Wait, so
you can hack the system by just being you can wear chuggy things, but be yourself, and that's not chuggy. But then again, what do I know? I'm 32 years old. I don't have a TikTok.
maybe we need to start doing TikTok.
I think that's the exact last thing that we need in our lives.
All right, we're doing TikTok.
But anyway,
Should we-
stay
should I-
woke.
should I read my
you
story?
might be chuggy. Yes, Ian's reading a very different type of story.
Yeah, this is we I actually really appreciated the Chugi conversation. It's a lot more fun than this one. So the story I have comes from the Guardian, and it's about a Tennessee hat shop that was I guess selling not vaccinated Star of David badges. That's not vaccinated in quotes. Star of David badges of people who were basically martyring themselves for not being vaccinated. Uh, decided to wear basically like Holocaust era replica to
Right.
denote themselves.
Right. And you, Ian, you are the grandchild of Holocaust survivors.
am.
You were very close with your grandparents.
Yes.
They lost their entire families in the Holocaust. How do you think they would feel about this lady in Nashville
Well,
selling her cutesy little
I mean,
buttons?
this is just another horrible thing in a long list of horrible things that have happened over the over the past years in this country. I mean, it's horrible. It's incredible. First of all, it's like the level of martyrdom. Any kind of comparison, I do think that like there's a lot of very ubiquitous and misplaced comparisons to the Holocaust and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think it's very common in our culture, and I think people need to think a little bit more before they start comparing things to that. To camps and stuff like that. I mean, some of them can be accurate. This is honestly just ludicrous.
I think what happens is it's such an it's one of the worst things that has happened in history. It's just so barbaric. Like when you read about it, you're like, I can't believe this happened in Israel. So when people are pulling for like a reference of a terrible thing, it's usually top of mind. And that's what some people don't have the ability to, I guess, filter and be like, but wait, this is very different because
Well, this
we
is
aren't mass murdering people.
this is definitely like to do the mental gymnastics of how this group has somehow gone to some weird place with this and identified themselves as just outcast is pretty bizarre. I mean, the whole anti-vax world is really just a very interesting, bizarre world that I'll never understand to begin with. So
Well, I mean, so a lot of places in New York, and I imagine in other parts of the country, are now asking that you show your card showing that you're fully vaccinated to enter, which
Yeah.
I personally have no problem with. And think is great.
Yeah.
But there's also plenty of places that aren't
Alright.
doing that,
Yeah,
and
and
you can go to those places.
yeah, and that's
So, and
totally.
also, if you can't go to like Cracker Barrel because you're not vaccinated, that's not the same thing as your entire family being murdered in the
Yeah. Yeah.
Holocaust, you freaking moron.
Yeah. Well, I think also I do love the level of victimization of self-pity and victimization for like, "Oh, yeah, I can't do this, like, seeming this incredibly trivial, simple thing because I've decided to not, you know, make the right move and get vaccinated." Pretty bizarre. So, to read you some moments from the article, so the now deleted a hat shop in Nashville reportedly sold these not vaccinated badges, basically are being hella criticized. The now deleted post on Instagram account for Hatworks, there's no O in that, showed a smiling woman touching the front of her shirt, which a patch was affixed with the caption, "Patches are here." Wow. And they're having, and then later down they said they're offering trucker caps soon. So yeah, get your trucker caps too.
Oh my God.
Really crazy. At the last, all unvaccinated. So one of the quotes from the article is, at last, all unvaccinated people will be segregated from society, marked, and must wear a mask. What comes next? That's what this person basically said. So anyway, don't don't uh don't victimize yourself if you don't get a shot. Just accept the fact that there are areas of society you might not be able to go to the Shake Shack or the Wendy's or out to a dinner out to a restaurant that you enjoy until you get vaccinated, and that is what it is.
But I just want to say, like, if you're choosing not to get vaccinated for whatever reason, I'm not even I'm not even here right now in this moment to criticize that
No,
choice.
I'm not either.
I'm just like like it's besides the point. It's like, fine, don't get
Just don't
vaccinated.
complain.
You're not being persecuted. Like, it's not fascism. There are, again, especially in where is this, Tennessee? I imagine there are still many options for you and your family to go out to dinner.
Probably, yeah.
You'll be fine. So anyway, that's what's going on in the news. Lots of things happening. Now it's time for our topic of the week. This week's topic is how to know you found the one.
Oh,
Oh. So this is actually inspired by a listener question that we got. It's not just because I'm feeling romantical right before our wedding. So
oh, we know you're not.
I I am. No, this is from our listener Marina, and Marina wrote, "Hey, this is kind of a question slash kind of a topic, but I think it would be cool to do an episode on how people felt when they knew someone was quote unquote the one. I feel like it appears on social media slash movies like everyone just has this aha moment and is completely 100% sure, but it would be helpful to hear more real life stories about how people actually came to that realization. I've been with my boyfriend for a year and I'm so in love, but I have no idea how to tell if he's the one. Thanks, and I love your show so much. Thank you, Marina." I mean, I one thing I'll say is I only know my experience, and I would imagine that it's probably different for everybody. Um, but like for me personally, I think like comparing how like when I met Ian,
Hey,
um, I also what I should say is you probably aren't going to know immediately, nor should you. You can't, like, if
yeah.
you immediately meet somebody and you're
Well,
like, "They're perfect, they're my
there's
soulmate," and you know nothing about them, like,
yeah.
slow your roll.
Well, and there's a whole unmasking period when you meet somebody, and that's like, the person who you met for the first 3 to 6 months often is a very different person thereafter, and we
Quite
kind of are
different.
continuing to evolve and become different people.
Yeah. I mean, that's not to say that you might not have a feeling.
Right.
Like, I would say that I did have a feeling about you,
Yeah, I
which
did
is
too.
which is why you were the first person I ever messaged first on a dating app, as I often like to reference, because even just like your profile, I was like, "I like this guy. I like him. I don't wanna get I don't wanna not meet him."
I don't want to go hiking with him, but I like him.
Yeah, yeah, Ian said, "Message me if you like hiking," and I ignored that part. Um, But yeah, I think like I think that dating a lot is good because you get an idea for what you like and what you don't like, and I think that like having been in not great relationships, and that doesn't even mean like the person was a bad person, just like relationships that I was like kind of lukewarm about. I think that having those experiences helped me know that how I felt about you and how you made me feel was like a special good thing
Aw.
that was rare.
Yeah.
Um, so, like, definitely, like, go on if every bad date that you go on, you can just be like, "Well, this will help me later know when I've gone on a good date."
I would say, and I hadn't really had a long term, not long distance. I had not had a long distance relationship or a long term relationship until we started dating. But I had enough experiences that I felt like I knew what it was to like not really connect with somebody, and like, or I knew what it was like connect with somebody, but then like it kind of didn't. It was hard to keep the ball in the air essentially, and I think that when we started spending time together, there was an element of seamlessness to it that just felt very natural and very like comfortable, and like you felt like you kind of already knew. I kind of already knew you
Yeah.
in a way, but yet I was still learning more about you all the time. So like this constant state of like familiarity and comfortability, but also like curiosity that was like constantly moving forward and evolving. And I think that like having those feelings that like, you feel like you can be yourself, but also like but then there are things about yourself that are like you're willing to like improve on and make better for the sake of the other person, and you both kind of do that for each other. I think that's like a great place to be.
Yes, I agree, and I think, like, what was unique very early on about our relationship was, like I've talked about this a lot, I think, like, it's very easy to be yourself on a bad date because you don't care.
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
people that you're not into, those dates usually go really well because you don't care and you
The
put no
stakes are
effort in,
low. The
and but
stakes
you're,
are
like,
low.
fully yourself.
Yeah.
But then other dates when you are really into somebody, but they're maybe, like, they're a little aloof or withholding or whatever, then
Or
that makes you
intimidating.
nervous
Yeah.
and you're not yourself and yeah, you might dip into crazy territory in between when they're not texting you or whatever because they haven't made you comfortable. So what was cool about Ian was he was like the in between of like I was myself and I was comfortable because of who he was, but it wasn't because I didn't care. Like I really liked him.
I put people at ease,
You
baby.
put people
I
at
put you at ease.
ease. Um, cool guy. But yeah, like it wasn't because I was myself, but it wasn't because I didn't care.
Right,
So
right.
it's the best way to be. I
Yeah.
think that's the best of both worlds. Which like that's not to say expect to feel that way on the first date, and if you don't, then they're not the one. It's just like,
Eventually, you should, and like, yeah, like, there shouldn't be, like, a multi-year, like, unmasking. Like, you
yeah,
should be able to be who the truest version of yourself, or the best known version of yourself at that time, relatively quickly,
yeah,
after, being together for, like, a few months or something like that.
yeah.
And I
Yeah. Do we have anything else to say about
Yeah,
the one?
we can talk briefly about you. I mean, I think that, like, when I first met you, I really was intrigued. Like, I thought you were, like, really funny and entertaining, and you had, like, a sardonic sense of humor, and I really appreciated how quick you were, and I thought you were just a great person that had a great heart too, and I love that about you. And I think that, for me, it was very easy to even though we lived, in different boroughs, like, it didn't feel like it wasn't hard to, like, make time for each other. It wasn't
Yeah.
hard for me to make time. It was very easy to just kind of make things happen and hang out and do things together, and it felt very natural. So, Angela, you shared with me an article from Psychology Today, which kind of breaks down, I guess, in a more simple in more simple terms, 4 ways to figure out if you're with the right person. So I'll quickly read them off. So number one, assess how satisfied you feel in a relationship. So basically checking off certain criteria, basically breaking down the relationship into aspects of sex and romance, finances, emotional intimacy, communication, and then assessing how satisfied you are in each one of those things. And basically asking yourself, having a conversation with yourself about them. Another number two was ask yourself, have you been more satisfied in other relationships versus this one? So that one's pretty self-explanatory. Three, could you easily imagine being more satisfied? So are there things that, aren't really necessarily being met in this relationship that you think are really important to you and could be met elsewhere? And then four, to determine if you need to do some self-work. And this is something where I have realized for me, like I had to do a lot of this in order for our relationship to improve in certain ways. And I realized, I started going to therapy and realized certain things about myself that were ultimately, not everything has been perfect between us. And I think we've had our back and forths about certain things. And like you realize when you really care about somebody and there's so much that does work whenever things don't work, it's not necessarily it doesn't necessarily mean that like you have to go your own ways, but there are certain things that you can improve yourself on.
Right. Yeah, and I think all four of these things really come down to like trust and respect and communication.
Yeah.
And
And
I think
awareness too.
and awareness, right?
Yeah.
Because like you said, like the when you find the one, that doesn't mean it's somebody who you're never going to fight with,
Right.
and
Exactly.
you're never going to have disagreements. You could have a lot of things that you don't have in common or don't see eye to eye on, and I think like that's okay as long as you can be respectful and communicate. Like I feel like I meet so many people that are in relationships that don't that are afraid to like talk about things with their partner and like lie about things or just withhold things, and you don't owe anybody like every thought in your head, but you should feel comfortable. That's your choice whether or not you want to share, but you should at least feel comfortable and secure that your partner would be like open to hearing things
Right.
that you want to tell them.
Right. And sometimes that is an evolution and is a process that like when you do care about somebody and you want to make things work, even if you're not quite there where you're at a place where like you can share everything, the goal should be to get there because that's how you build deeper connections and that's how you grow together.
Yeah, look at us. Look at us knowing about relationships and stuff.
We're not perfect. We're gonna probably argue after this. Just kidding. Just kidding.
But then we'll make up and then we'll get
Exactly.
married. I think, you never know. After the again, circling back to our conversation earlier, you never know what life's going to throw at you.
Right.
But
Well,
isn't that life?
that's why you packed a very nice suitcase for me after this that I'll be going to the airport.
Oh, on that note, that's it for this week's This Is Why podcast. Ian, thanks for doing the last 4 episodes with me. This
Yeah,
was really
thanks for
fun.
having. We still got to work out. I got to give you my W-2, work
Yeah.
out payment information, and if I get any like sweet, residuals or anything like that. So you know where I live.
No, maybe we can get you some like I'll throw some vitamins your way from Care of or something.
What about
Like
like
one of my vitamins, but you can have a couple.
Okay,
I'm sure it'll be fine.
okay. No, definitely take your vitamins, whatever they are. I'm not going to ask any questions.
Great.
Well, that is it for this week. This is my podcast. Thank you very much for having me, Angela and Laura, and allowing me to say words that are in my head.
Mhm.
Check out Angela and Laura's book, This Is Why You're Single, and Laura's book, Cinderella and the Glass Ceiling, and other feminist fairy tales. They are available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, but you should use your local bookstores to buy them.
Yes, you should. And you can get hooked up with discounts from all of our sponsors. Ian, we're not paying you to be on the podcast, but you should like totally check out the codes and like get yourself something nice. For a full list of sponsors and the codes, check out our podcast page on thisiswhythepodcast.com. We are also on social, so you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at thisiswhythepod. Please like and subscribe on iTunes. And thank you for listening. Tune in next week for a whole new show with Laura. Bye.
Bye.
This is why. This is why. Pop culture, politics, friendship, dating, work, parenting news. This is why the podcast.
That was a headgum podcast.